Hello everybody. So in this video what I want to do is I want to map out the front side of the human body and have all the details of the anatomy that I want to know when I'm sketching a picture, and whether I want a lot of anatomy details or just a little bit. I want to have the whole map of the front of the body in my head so that I can just grab whatever pieces I need when I'm making a sketch. And actually, I will include right down to the feet. Okay, so this is kind of like my final drawing. Even though I didn't do all the way down to the feet on this page, I'm going to use a 11 by 17, and we are going to map out all the muscles on the front of the body. Okay, so that's the plan. And so between this and this sketch that I did quite a while ago, about 6 years ago actually, we are going to map out all the important muscles on the front of the body. So we can make our supers or whatever we want. And I've been spending a lot of time trying to figure out, maybe the quickest way to do this. And so there's been lots and lots of sketches figuring out how to map the front of the body and get all the important details. So lots of sketches. And I decided I was doing with the arms, in the strongman pose for a while, but I decided that I want to have the arms down first, and then I'm going to do a video on having the arms raised, which then you have to make sure you understand what's going on in the armpit area. And yeah, so anyway, the first thing we're going to do is have the arms down. So I started with the arms up, and then I decided for this first video we're going to do an arms down pose like this. And we're going to map them out. So let's get to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do what I did in my video for the parkour kid, is I'm going to make a rough sketch, and then I'm going to use my light table and transfer it onto a comic board. And then ink it like that. So that's the plan. So I've got some, let's see. So the first thing we'll do is we will turn this into a 6-area body. So we'll start about here, give each area about 2 inches. Now if you were doing this on 8.5 by 11, you might want to do like maybe 1.5 inches or even 1 inch. Actually, let's figure that out right now. 1.5, 3, yeah, maybe that'd be good. So this is the top, and there's 2, there's 4, and there's 6. Okay, so 1.5 inches for each area of the body, or the bottom half of the body, of course. So this would be 1, 2, 3, and then if you just cut the bottom part in half, you would have 1, 2, 3, 4.5, which would be halfway would be 2.25, and then your knees would go just above 2.25. So the knees would go here. The leg joining would go here, and the head would go here, like that. So there you go. If I was going to do this sketch on 8.5 by 11, I would use a 9-inch Manikin, 9 inches, and each section would be 1.5 inches. Okay, but I'm not doing it on, I've done it plenty of times on smaller sheets, and I want to have a nice reference sheet and have it all nice and pooky. All right. There's a good center line. There's halfway. And let's be exact in our, well, very close in our measurements. Knees are going to be above here. All right. So the head, the neck, and right here will be the clavicle, the collarbone, like that. Shoulders, Sternocleidomastoid, or the big neck tendons. That's a lot easier to say. And then the rib cage. This is how I like to map it out. And then halfway is where the sternum is. Sternum, where the sternum ends. And you got the little necktie bone there that sticks down. Okay, so that's not bad. Now, if this is the collarbone, and then this comes from the scapula, the spine of the scapula, this little piece here. All right, there we go. Maybe make the ribs a bit thinner. There we go. Now the width of the ribs is something I haven't got memorized, but however big you make the ribs dictates where you're going to put the scapulas. So the scapulars are actually pretty deep. They come down to the end of the sternum, and then they come over like this, and underneath the end of the collarbone is where the head of the humerus, or the head of your upper arm, is, like that. So we will make our shoulder blades like that. And we'll put the head of the arm bone right there and come back in, and it goes roughly like that. Okay, now why do we need that? It's because we need to know where to put the arm bone. And let's just continue down here for a minute, and we will get the pelvic bone in place here. Something like this. And then what I want to do is, okay, so if this is the side of the body here, like this, and then we are going to draw in the 10-pack. Not a 6-pack, but a full 10-pack. And that helps us to know where to place things. All right, so the pecs come down to the end of the sternum right here, the big chest muscles like that, and then they go out to the arms, and then at the bottom of the pecs there's a little bit more of pectoral muscles that stick down, and they kind of create this little wing shape, and some artists will really emphasize them. Okay, so at the bottom of the pectoral muscles, the chest muscles, there's a few more that stick down, and they kind of form this wing like this. And then the main abs start. And this line here, remember we divided the body into 3 sections on the top, and then 3 sections on the bottom, which eventually we just cut in half. But anyway, So these lines here aren't good indicators for where the abs go. So I'm going to put, there's the wing, I call it, and then there's the next two abs, so 2, 4, and then at 6 right here, this is where the belly button is. So whether you do a horizontal belly button or a vertical, I like to do a vertical because then I just do a teardrop right here, like that. So I have 2 4-pack, and then a 6-pack, and then a shorter 8-pack here, and that's where the hip dip is, what I call the hip dip. There's a little bump here, and the torso kind of dips in here, right where the pelvic bone is. So I just call it the hip dip, and that's at the hip dip at 8-pack. 2, 4, 6, 8. All right, and then these last two, that's the 10-pack, and very few people have a 10-pack. All right, so that's how I divide it out. There's the pecs, and there's the wing, the bottom of the pecs, and then 2, 4, 6, 8, or as I count it, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Wings, 2, 4, 6, no, sorry. Wings are 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. All right, enough of that. So here we have the head of the humerus, or the upper arm bone, and we're going to put the hands right at the hip dip here, like this. So my pose, if you remember, is this, and the arms are basically a 45-degree angle, okay? So basically a 45-degree angle. So I'm going to draw like this, and then draw like this, and get kind of a 45-degree angle going like that. Now, if you've watched my other video, which I'll put on the screen here, you might remember this little guy here. And in that video, I taught that if you want to think about the arms as a flat board, that's that's a very helpful thing to do, because then you can realize that this side would be for the biceps, this side back here would be for the triceps, and then you'll see the brachialis and the coracobrachialis sticking out on the sides here. But basically, when your arms are in this position, this 45-degree position like this, okay, the elbow is a cylinder, or if you think of the elbow as a cylinder, okay, which I've kind of shown here, the top of the cylinder, and actually I have it drawn in here, but it's kind of got erased. I'll show you how I do it. So I'm thinking of the arm, if you can see this whole thing here like this, I'm thinking of it like this. So you're going to see the top here, but you won't see the opening down here. So continuing on, we're going to see the top of the cylinder here, like that, the elbow bone, and it's going to go down like that. Okay? And as this is a flat board, we're going to see the top edge here, okay? Maybe it'd be better to look at it this way. And you'll have the flat edge here, and the deltoids are going to attach right about here. There's a little indent in the bone where the deltoids are going to attach to. So let's draw this flat board that's on an angle like this. And we'll draw the thin edge, and then we'll draw the rest of the flat board like that. And we'll do the same over here. The top part of the board. And in this side it's going to be in like this. Okay, if you can see that. And like that. Now there's a lot of lines there, so that's pretty scratchy. I've got to try and break my scratchy habit. There we go. That's much better. Okay. And so now we're getting everything in place. Okay, and so we have the scapula, the shoulder blades here. And why do we need those scapulas, even though they're on the back of the body? It's important because you have the scapula, you have the head of the humerus, the upper arm bone, but what sticks out of the, what attaches to the arm from the scapula is the teres major muscle. So your chest muscles actually attach just past the head of the humerus here. The chest muscles actually attach to your arm like that, right there. And then they come down from about here and attach to the arm bone there. So we'll attach the chest muscles, the pecs there, and then coming up from the chest, they will attach about here. So now we know where the chest muscles attach onto the arm. And then coming from the bottom of the scapula, you will have the teres major attaching to the arm about here. Okay? And then the lat that comes off your lats, which are the muscles on the back and side of your body, they are going to attach, well, they're going to attach here, and then the teres major is going to attach like this. So it kind of goes pec muscle, lats, and then teres major. So here's our pec, and then we're going to have our lats that come down the side of the body and go around to the back. And some people have huge lats. Just depends on the body you're drawing. If I show you this dude here, you can see that his lats are huge, and then the teres major is really huge. But that's not what I'm drawing. I'm drawing a thinner person. So, but the order is always going to be the same. You're going to have your pec muscles, then you're going to have your lats, and then you're going to see coming out from the shoulder blade, the teres major is going to be here, like that. And so when you're drawing the body, if you want to put in those details, you know what they are. You know, here's the pec muscle here, here's the lat muscle, here's the teres major, and behind it is going to be the tricep. All right, so we've got that in. Now, the deltoids, your shoulder muscles, they start about here on the collarbone, and there's a little indentation on the arm bone, on the edge of the arm bone. So I think I showed that earlier. And that's where the shoulders attach. So they attach like that, and then they come up on the front of the collarbone like that. So they go around here, they come over, and they attach here like that. All right, so you got a lot of lines there and things you have to memorize, but just do one thing at a time and do lots of drawings. There's my scapula, those dotted lines. Here's the chest muscles, the pecs, okay? This is the lats, latissimus dorsi. the back and side muscles, and then this muscle here attaches to the arm from the shoulder blade. All right, and we can clean that up a little bit. Okay, so this is good. Now what we're going to do is we're going to draw the triceps sticking out here, and there's the tendon of the tricep. So we'll do that here. Now this part here is kind of shorter, and then it kind of comes around like that and comes down into the elbow like this. All right, so continuing on, the bicep muscle. Now right here you have the socket for your arm, and then you have the head of the humerus, the upper arm bone, like this. And then coming from the back of the shoulder blade, you have the spine of the shoulder blade. It comes over here, and then actually this is the collarbone, and then the spine comes around behind it and attaches like this and goes behind the scapula. But right here, right on the edge of it here, is this funny little bone that sticks out, and it's really important because it kind of is an attachment for all the muscles, and if it's not there, the shoulder blade falls apart, the whole shoulder falls apart. So there you go. You can't evolve. You have to have everything in place for the human body to work. So this is called the coracoid process. Coracoid process, or you can just call it the thing that sticks out near the arm socket. And there's one on this side right here, and there's one right here, same place, other side. Okay, and it's important to know that because the bicep goes over the ball of the head of the humerus, and the other part of the bicep attaches to this coracoid process, and then it comes out like this, and depending on how muscular you are, how big your bicep's going to be, and then it comes in here like this and attaches to the radius, and the aponeurosis attaches into the arm like that. Okay, so now we have our bicep. The other thing this coracoid process has attached to it is the coracobrachialis, and it's right in here, but we don't see it on this side. We'll only see it when the arms are up. Okay, so we have the bicep, we have the tricep, and now we need the brachialis, which kind of comes in here like this and attaches to the arm. Okay, so we can just, actually let's make it less, we'll just make it like that. Okay, so we have the bicep right here attaching to the coracoid process and over the ball of the humerus. And then this little part here is the brachialis muscle. This is the tricep, and this is the tendon of the tricep. And then we have our elbow sticking out here, like that. Okay. Now, the other thing here, we have the arm coming around here like this, the arm bone. And right here on the corner we have the brachioradialis, and it kind of wraps around and attaches to the forearm and goes. Okay, so I lost a little bit of footage there. The camera shut off, so let's continue from drawing in the brachialis and then the brachioradialis. So the brachioradialis is actually two muscles, and I forget the name of the other one. But they both start here on the arm, and they curl around and go to the forearm. So they kind of go like this. And there's a smaller one on top. Here's the smaller one, and here's the lower one. And they travel all the way down to the thumb side of the hand. And the thumb is here. You can see in the previous one. So the thumb is behind the body, and then the hands would, or the fingers would be in front like this. But I didn't draw in the fingers because I want to draw in all these tendons and muscles of the lower legs. Okay, so we pretty much have this arm done, except that the bone from the elbow down to the pinky, you know, on the pinky side, there's this little nubbin of a bone right here, and we're going to draw that in. Okay, and there it is there on this side. Now that is the end of your bone that actually is your elbow. So this elbow, the big bone here, and this, that's the same bone. And it travels, I don't know if I can show it here, because when I turn my hand like this, you don't see the ridge. Can you see it here? There's this ridge that goes down your arm like that. That's the elbow. The bone travels along here, and then it turns into this little nubbin right here. Doesn't turn into it, that's the end of it. Okay, and so that's what I'm going to indicate down here with this line, is that ridge that the bone travels down. Okay, and then what do we have here? We have the brachialis, and I don't need this little line right there. There we go. And we can get rid of these here. Okay, so we have the bicep. We have the brachialis. It can go down a little deeper. We can have it go down to here. And then the deltoid attaches here on the arm and goes up to the collarbone. And then the pec muscle is, there's a little break between the deltoids and the pec muscle, the chest muscles that come down like that. Then we have the pecs. Then here we have the lats. And then this little bit here, which we don't see there because the bicep is hiding it. This little bit here is the teres major. So it's in behind, and we'll just call it the, well, we'll write it in teres major. And that's behind, attaches to the scapula. Tricep tendon, this part right here. And that's pretty much all we need for the arms. So, coracoid process, and the bicep goes over the head of this bone here, and it attaches also here. So the bicep is going to come down like this, and then come in like this to the elbow here. The brachialis is going to be sitting right here, attaching to the radius bone, but we don't get to see that. And then the tricep is going to stick out here. It's going to be shorter, come in, and then there's that dip for the tendon that goes to the elbow. There's the radiobrachialis and whatever the other name of this one here, it's 3 or 4 words, EC something or other. Anyway, and then we have the elbow bone, which attaches right down. Well, it doesn't attach. There's that ridge I showed you in your arm, and then on the bottom side there's more arm ligaments and muscles and things like that. Okay, so here's the thumb going in behind the body like that. Maybe draw a ridge like that to show the joint, and then here like that, and then the fingers would be coming down here like this, but we're not going to draw them. Okay, let's have some fun here. All that technical stuff out of the way, and let's draw in a head here. So this could be male or female. That's why I kind of did it as a thin body, because if you're drawing huge lats and things like that, it invariably is going to look like a male. And though there are some huge muscly women out there, but it's not the norm. Okay. So draw the bottom of the nose, draw the mouth, cheekbones, maybe lower those trap muscles a little bit. There we go. And the ear balls and eye drums. Hairline. Okay, that's good enough. All right, so we have the upper body done except for the serratus muscles. And these I love to draw because I would see them drawing them in on my favorite Marvel comics. And then when I finally started drawing enough to know what they were, let me see if I can see some examples here. Okay, here we go. Submariner. I'm going to take the plastic off so you can see them a bit better. So there's the ribs and the serratus muscles. Now they're not very defined here. And there's Gil Kane doing his version of them right here. So I always loved those. I thought, wow, that looks so cool. Wish I could draw that, and of course now I can. And I guess, you know, they were always under deadline pressure, so anyway, it didn't matter to me when I was reading these as a kid. Everything just looked cool, and they looked like muscles, so it was good enough for me. And let me see if I can show you some more examples here. I've got some of my... Okay, so here, oh, no, here we go. Is this Jim Starlin? No, Milgram and Wrightson. There we are, the ribs. Just a hint of them here by Neil Adams, just a hint. And then more Gil Kane here. And this is pretty cool. The whole serratus and ribs, and then the way he's done the abs and the little wing that I talk about. This is what the wing is up here, kind of above where the sternum is. So anyway, hopefully that makes sense to you, all this stuff in here. So how do we go about tackling this? Well, let's clean up these two lines of the wing, I call it. Right like that. Okay, so we have the pecs, the main portion of the pecs here. They go out to the arm, and then just down here, and you can just see a hint of it right here on this. You can just see a hint, that there. That would be the wing. This little bit right here. And it goes across like that. And some of them are pretty big on, just depends on the person and the body type and the muscles they have. Because I've looked at a lot of bodybuilders, and the wing on people, sometimes you don't even see it, and sometimes it's just huge. Okay, back to drawing in the serratus muscles and those ribs. This is what we're concerned with, the wing right there. And this is the outside of the rib cage right here. So the way I do it is I draw a rib like that, okay, or a serratus muscle. And then I draw another one that goes down to the middle of the wing, like that. And from there, the muscles start coming down to the abs. I guess these are the obliques now. These are the external obliques. And they come down. And this first one goes to, if this is the wing, this is the first set of abs. But in reality, the first two abs, the second two. So wings, 2-pack, 4-pack. No, that's wrong. Wings, 4-pack, 6-pack, 8-pack, 10-pack. So anyway, I do one rib here, the second rib here, and of course the serratus muscles attached to the rib, so we can say serratus, so we can call that 1, 2, 1, 2. And on the second one, we start in the middle, if this is the bottom of that serratus and rib, and we go down to the 4-pack right here. Then we draw in another serratus slash rib. So that's the third one. 1, 2, 3. And then we come over to the side here, and then this oblique is going to come down to the 6-pack. 2, 4, 6. Okay, so 2, 4, 6. And just a reminder, that's the belly button. And now sometimes you'll see on people the belly button's a little bit below, but mostly above. So I've checked out a lot of people and images and bodybuilders, and the belly button's always there. This is not a belly button. This is a shadow that looks like a belly button. So we can just, okay. Now, from 3 it goes down to the 6-pack. So from 3 it goes down to the 6-pack. We can draw another rib slash serratus muscle here. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is the fourth one. And this one goes right down to the 8-pack. So it's looking like that. And I've noticed, and I don't know if it's 100% true, but for a lot of the research I've done, this second set of abs, we have the wing, then abs and abs, this part here, the 6-pack, this sometimes is longer than up here, but not on everybody. Let's continue. We have the 5th serratus slash rib coming across right here. We barely see any of it. 5. And this one kind of attaches to the 10-pack right here, this oblique. And like that. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Starting on the second one, you attach the oblique to the ab, like that. And that's how I see and understand these serratus. Now the other thing you can do to make it look even cooler is draw the curviness of the actual ribs right here. And on really thin people, you can see that. You can see those rib bumps. It looks, oh, it kind of looks cool. All right, so there we go. Now we have the upper body done, okay? And now it's time to get into the legs. So here's my reference that I did a couple of days ago. And it has everything pretty much the way I want it, okay? And in between this last oblique muscle that comes down on rib 5 here, this is a lot of, I guess, fascia, ligament, so it's not really muscles, and so we can just leave that area kind of blank like this here. Okay, and now let's just put in a rough knee here, okay, and then we will start with the legs. Now the legs curve, and then above the knee it starts to straighten out right here. And right here, where that hip dip is, where the crest of the pelvic bone is, I just like to draw a circle right there and there for where the, right here and right here, for where the Sartorius muscle comes across the legs and basically holds everything together. And that rhythm kind of slides right into the shin bones. So if we draw the Sartorius, start it up here, go across the legs, you can go under the knee and curve back out to the inside ankle bone, which is higher than the outside ankle bone. So maybe I'll move that up just a smidgen. And there's the bottom of the foot. And then this part is a bit lower, the inside of the calf. The outside is a bit higher. So we'll go out, then the lower outside ankle, so it's kind of on an angle, and then the foot like that. So, and if we have to change things after, well, so be it. Okay, maybe move the knee up a little bit here like that. All right, let's do the other leg here. Ankle, foot. Move the knee up a bit here. There we go. So kind of like that. I don't know if these are equal. Yeah, that's a little, yeah, so it was good that I moved the knee up. My mind's eye was looking out for me. So the Sartorius, muscle comes across like that, and you'll see on superheroes they'll draw an indicator of that across the leg. I wonder if I can show you an example. Here, example, where are you? Yep, right here. In Captain Marvel, and again, tape on comics. Why is it on my comics? Because I hadn't read it yet. I bought it and I hadn't read it. So there we go. There's the Sartorius, and it's going to come around here and then go into the shin bone. See how the shin bone is curving towards the inside? There's the Sartorius. Down like that. All right. Back to the task at hand here. But yeah, so just knowing this is a great way to get the leg established. Okay, knees, ligaments. Are they ligaments or tendons that attach to muscles? All right, and now we are going to draw the 3 quad muscles that we can see, 1, 2, 3, and they kind of form. Let me see if I can get into. I got too many comics here now. I love lots of reference around me. Okay, so here we go. This is exactly what I was looking for. So there's 1, there's 2, and the center one. They create this kind of group of muscles like that. And I always like to do the little one with a little bit of rendering for whatever reason. It just makes me know what it is, that's all. I don't know the name of it from memory, but that group of 3 is just like that. Okay? All right. And so now the inside muscle is lower than the outside muscle, and then this muscle kind of goes between them like that, and they look completely different on different people. Probably the example that I'm used to is right here. Arnold Schwarzenegger. You can see this low muscle down here, and then the big outside one, and then this thing here that looks kind of like a heart with a point on it instead of coming in. And you can kind of see the striations of the muscles, which is why I kind of like to do this. And then there's this little leaf thing in the middle right here and right here. So that's my reference, and that's why I do things the way I do. And then over here you have whatever this is, the glute medius, and then you have something else going across here. I forget what that is. Oh, that's your latte fascia or something or other. Fascia latte, that's what it is. Fascia latte. Sounds like a fast coffee. Fast coffee. Fascia latte. Okay, right here and right here. And then we have 1, 2, and the middle one. So 1, 2. This tendon kind of goes up in between them. And then that weird muscle in the middle kind of got a leaf coming out of it, and like that. So there's the Sartorius, the low muscle, the higher muscle, and the one in the middle with the little leaf in it. And that pretty much gets you the quads, the upper thighs, like that. Okay. So how are we doing time-wise here? Oh, we're going to run out of time in a minute. So let's see. We'll continue on. And there we go. I buried it. Ah, here we go. That's what I want to show you. Oh, we have 4 minutes left, so we're good. Okay, so you can see here, this is another Gilkane, the power. This is Warlock number 1 and 2, but on this one here, you can kind of see the Sartorius coming across, going down and into the shin bone like that. So I always, and there it is again, coming across into the shin bone. So I always love that. And he was always doing that falling back pose, which is awesome. I also love the way he did noses. So just one of my favorites. See, you can kind of see how he shadowed the nose like that. And I do that on occasion. I do what I call the backwards M, which I go like this. Like that, and then do the nostrils, and then just do some line shading. That always makes a good nose. But when it's small, I don't know if it's going to work as good. Anyway, back to the task at hand. Okay, so we want the lower shin muscles here. So we can see here that they're showing the calf muscle up here, and they kind of show 2 striations of it here. So you can do this. You can do a little muscle like that and like that if you want to show some details of the calf muscles on the inside. Okay, and then if that's the knee, okay, and that's the shin bone, you can just draw out like this, right, and that's pretty much all you need. Now the tibia, the little small muscle in your leg that's on the outside, you could do a little bump for that, and it goes down and becomes the lower outside ankle. From here, all we have to do is divide this into 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the toes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and there you go. You have everything you need. And I only have a few seconds left, and the camera's going to shut off. But that's all the muscles you need for the front of the body. Okay, so I can do this in about 10 minutes, 20 minutes if I'm doing it on my own and I'm not doing a lesson. And then when I'm drawing things, like I did this sketch here for one of my students and turned him into a superhero. And because of knowing all this, when I'm doing the sketch, I can just put in whatever detail I want. So here's the rough sketch, and you can see I roughed in the abs, the sartorius, the pecs, the lats, the teres major, put in the shoulder blades just so I'd have everything in place. And you know, it's not as detailed as this. And when I finish it, I don't even have as much of that. You know, you're not going to see all that. But that's kind of what I'm thinking. What parts and what details do I want to put in? And then when I finish my final sketch, again, I probably overdid it for a young superhero kind of type. But seeing as I'm practicing anatomy these days, I wanted to put in as much as I could. So there we go. So knowing all these muscles might take you a while, you know, and you can see that I didn't do this all at once, right? I have all kinds of reference, but a lot of it sticking in my mind. Actually, here's a drawing I did quite a while ago, and this one really stuck with me, and I think that was yeah, it just stuck with me. When did I do this? In 2020. And I got the wings. You can really see the wings here. And I don't think I even need, oh yeah, this is the main part of the pecs here, like that. That's just shadow there. And then so we have the wing, the 4-pack, the 6-pack, the belly button, the 8-pack, and the 10-pack down to the legs here. Okay, and because it's so wide, I was able to just put these rib slash serratus muscles in much easier. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then from the second one down to the 4-pack, from the third one down to the 6-pack, from the fourth one, 1, 2, 3, 4, down to the 8-pack, and then the 5th one just attaches to the 10-pack down here into the groin area. And because the arms are up, you get to see the coracobrachialis, the crachybrachy. Here's the brachialis. The brachioradialis is kind of on the back side now, so we don't see that so much. But again, we have the lats here. So we have lats. And then here we have the teres major. I can show it over here, teres major. Depending on who the person is, you might see a tiny bit of the teres minor, and then the back of the deltoids, the shoulder muscles. So you can see all these striations of different muscle groups. And then you would have the hip dip right here, and the sartorius going down to the knee to the shin bone. So, right? So that's nicer to see, but I don't want to be able to. I don't want to only be able to do it on a huge muscle guy. I want to be able to see it on a more slender person like that. So I think this is worth taking the time, and then the rest of your life as you're drawing, you can just add in what details you want. So let's have a quick look, and we'll finish this up here. So let me see. I also time myself to see how fast I can do it. This one, really? It only took 13 minutes to do that. So that's not very much. And I wish I'd have timed this one. So this was, I had a reference picture, and this girl doesn't have all those details. She's got a very smooth body, but I wanted to put them in. And there's another reference picture that I used, and this one here I totally made up. I just made it up. Twisted the torso one way, twisted the hips the other way, and you can see how it transfers. I could add in the ribs, whatever muscles I wanted, understood how the abdominal muscles would twist. So yeah. So for my my learning process, being able to see things in a static pose really helps transfer into a dynamic pose. And here you can see I did a little joints. Now I've done the stick figure lesson on my channel, and I'll put that on the screen too. But this is a little bit more advanced, because not only do we have the main joints here, like hips, knees, and ankles, and shoulders, elbows, and wrists, but also the head bends right at the base of the skull a little bit. You can tilt your head there, and you can move your head around a lot right here. And this is the sternum, or the middle of the back. So I kind of, the whole group of bones in your back allows you to flex, of course. And so I just thought here, 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 and at the base of your spine, you can twist here, right? At the base of the spine allows you to twist. So they're all mobility areas. And what is this down here? So that's the big femur, okay? The greater trochanter that goes into the hips, and then the femur comes down, and The bone isn't a perfect triangle, but that's a really good way to represent it. And then you have the shin bone that curves this way. And at the bottom of the shin bone, if I'm doing this one, it would go out like this, in, and like that. Boom, boom, like that. Now this outside line here is the tibia, the little thin bone that goes down to the outside of your leg and creates the outside ankle. It's just a small bone, and it can break relatively easy if you have a bad situation happen. Any which way, so I thought this was good to show too. And yeah, the wider the chest, the easier it is to draw the serratus and rib muscles in. So I think, oh yeah, I just noticed something that I didn't do here is all these, what do you call them, adductors and everything in here, so we can add those into our drawing. So let's do that. Right here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then this is the Sartorius that kind of divides this group of adductors. I guess these would be over top. I'm not 100% sure how they connect. I could look it up, but for my purposes, I don't need any more information than that. There's so many different layers of muscles and everything. You just have to decide how much you want to pack into your brain and use that amount of knowledge when you're creating your drawings. Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Fascia latae, gluteus medius, and of course behind you is the gluteus maximus, your big butt. Okay. All right, so April 5th. All right, so we have